So welcome back to our channel. And as you know, we're going through the book of Daniel. We're doing a Bible series this summer on the book of Daniel. We're talking about how you thrive, not just survive as you walk through this life or the tests of life, right? So today we start off, and I want to ask you a question because I just want you to start thinking about it, kind of priming the pump in your brain to get you thinking. I want to ask you this question. What is it like for you to be a Christian? In other words, what has been your experience? Maybe you've been a Christian for a year, maybe 30 years. What has been your experience being a Christian? I want to see if you connect with 6 possibilities, 6 Christian experiences. Now, these are not scientific at all. I made these up. Let's see if you connect with them, and maybe none of them apply. Don't know. Number 1 experience, maybe, do you feel like you're trying to be a good person? So there's this standard, and some days are very good days. You live above the standard. Some days are not so good. You live below the standard. And you've noticed that over time of looking at religion like this, it's kind of tired you out, made you feel a little bit guilty because you feel like you're never going to be quite good enough. So your Christian experience is that there's this standard and you miss it and it kind of wears you out. Has that been your Christian experience? Number 2, do you feel like you're struggling to add religious behavior to your already busy life, right? So maybe you haven't reprioritized your life around God, so instead you try to take the things of God like church and religion, the Bible and prayer and volunteerism. You take those things and you try to add them to your already busy life, and it leaves you feeling like church stuff is really, really hard because your life is busy. You just don't have enough time to do it all. So your Christian experience is that Christianity is a struggle. Don't know if you connect with that. Number 3, do you feel like it's a secret? No one knows you're a Christian. You love God. You love what God has done for you. You're kind of nervous to talk about God. And it leaves you feeling a little bit bad about yourself because you wish you had a little bit more courage. Your Christian experience might be timid or fearful. Number 4, do you feel like you believe in God, but you're not so comfortable with the surrender stuff? It kind of scares you to think about if you fully surrender your life to God because you wonder, what will God ask me to do? What will He want me to change? So what's normal in that situation, many times people feel like they want to get close enough to feel good, but then they stay away. They stay far enough away so they don't have to make any changes. Maybe your Christian experience is trying to be comfortable enough and just to kind of do the least possible. Again, you want to be close enough to feel good about it, but you stay away from it because you don't want to make any changes. Number 5, do you feel like it's something you were born into as a kid and now it's just kind of routine? You feel like you're high on knowledge maybe and you're kind of low on passion. Maybe you know who you're supposed to be, but somewhere along the line of being a kid, teenager, and adult, you kind of tapped out, which basically means you've settled with going through the motions. You still believe in God, you still believe in church, and you just kind of push through, right? So it's interesting because while you're pushing through, and you're just trying to go through the motions, at the same time, you might view yourself as, I'm really mature because I've been around this stuff for many, many years. Number 6, let's see if you connect with this. Do you feel like it's something that has completely changed your life, right? God's grace has transformed the way you view yourself, how you treat others, how you live. Christianity for you is easy. You're not perfect, of course, and you're very aware of your issues, but talking about God is easy, loving God is easy, and you just wish everybody would experience God's grace like you have experienced God's grace. Your Christian experience is real because you kind of have this courage because you know God loves you. I ask you this question. What has been your Christian experience? I just want you to think about that. And the reason I ask is we're about to read Daniel's Christian experience. And I want to just jump into it. It's Daniel 6:6 in the story we're going to read today. Let's just jump in. It says this: So the administrators and high officers went to the king and said, "Long live King Darius. We are all in agreement, we administrators, officials, high officers, advisors, and governors, that the king should make a law that will be strictly enforced. Give orders that for the next 30 days, any person who prays to anyone, divine or human, except to you, your majesty, will be thrown into the den of lions. And now, your majesty, issue and sign this law so it cannot be changed, an official law of the Medes and Persians that cannot be revoked." So King Darius signed the law. But when Daniel learned that the law had been signed, check this out, he went home and knelt down as usual in his upstairs room with his windows open toward Jerusalem. He prayed 3 times a day, just as he always had done, giving thanks to his God. Do you see that line in there? It says, knelt down as usual, just as he always done, giving thanks to his God. That means even when Daniel faced death, it was normal for Daniel to pray, have courage, of course, courage to open up the windows, and be grateful. It's how he lived. It wasn't unusual. If you knew Daniel, you knew he was going to do this. Every day he prayed, he lived in courage, and he was grateful. And even when he faced death, it didn't change him. He did what he always does. We call this faith and we call this character. Now, just to add on to that, I didn't say Daniel did this now and then. I didn't say Daniel did this only when bad things happen. I didn't say after Daniel had a midday social media time, then he gave his leftovers to God. I didn't say that Daniel prayed less or more based on how bad his life was. No, Daniel did this every day. This was normal. He was consistent. He prayed. He lived in courage, and he was grateful. So what can we learn from the story of Daniel and his experience? Here's what we learned. Such a big deal. Daniel consistently placed his life in God's hands, regardless of his circumstances. Please hear me when I share this with you. Daniel consistently placed his life in God's hands, regardless of his circumstances. I think this entire Bible study of Daniel, I think these verses explain how Daniel could thrive, not just survive, as he's walking through the trials of life. Why? Because he consistently placed his life in God's hands, regardless of his circumstances, even when he faced death. Let me ask you, is this your Christian experience? Do you place your life in God's hands? Do you place your life in God's hands regardless of circumstances? If people who lived with you were interviewed, would they report, yeah, they consistently pray, they're the most courageous, grateful people we know? Living like this, just to be very transparent, if I look back over my life, living like this has always been a challenge to me. Why? Because I wanted to give my life to God, right? While at the same time, I wanted to control my life. Can you connect with that? I wanted to absolutely, fully surrender my life to God, but I also expected health, wealth, and happiness, and just throw in comfort and success. That would be great. And if anything threatened what I wanted my life to look like, if anything threatened it, I didn't know what to do. I felt stress. I felt anxiety. I would get serious with God and pray more. Can you connect with this? I prayed that God would forgive me. God would be with me. I prayed that God would remove my pain. I felt miserable. I wasn't very grateful, and I was trying to hide the fact that I was angry. And in all my struggle, do you know what I discovered? I discovered that all my turmoil was because I didn't want to give control to God and relax. I wasn't living like Daniel was living. I wasn't consistently placing my life in his hands regardless of the circumstances that I was facing. What do we learn from Daniel? If you want to thrive, not just survive as you're walking through the trials of life, we have to give control over to God every day, regardless of our circumstances. How? Well, you pray, you live in courage, and you live in gratefulness. Now, I'm going to slow down, and I want us to process what we're talking about. My question to you is, do you think this is a normal way of living for Christians in North America? Do you think the way Daniel lives is normal for us in North America? Because I don't think it is. The greatest struggle we have in North America as Christians is we have been blessed by God, absolutely blessed by God. And because we are blessed by God, we really don't see our need of God. I mean, that makes sense, right? Like, we aren't crying out to God for food. We're not crying out to God for safety. We don't have this internal stress of survival where we're going to God because we need Him, or we're going to pursue God. Why? Because we've already been blessed by God. And so we look at our lives of comfort and we think, I don't really need God. Now, we know we need God in the generic sense. Obviously, we go to church and, we would never say I don't need God. And so we know we need God in a generic sense, but we certainly don't need God by lunch. Like, we're not passionately pursuing Him and we're not aware of our need of Him. Like, God, you have to do something in my life by 10 o'clock. Like, we just don't have that sense of internal stress and agony, do we? In general, what I'm about to say may not apply to you, but I think our prayers in North America are basically telling God the way we need. We're telling God how He can make our lives look the way we want them to look, aren't they? It leaves our Christian experience to be kind of passive. Does that make sense when I say that? Please understand, I'm talking about the greater picture of North American Christian in general. I'm not talking about you personally, right? I think people report they struggle to pray. We struggle to live with courage. And honestly, many Christians, they talk about either they're miserable or they're just pushing through. They're not grateful. We're just kind of pushing through to another day, right? We have been so blessed by God, we haven't a clue the real cost of what it means to be a Christian in this world. Listen, I'm not trying to be edgy. I'm not trying to be offensive to get your attention. But would you agree that Christians in North America struggle to pray? Would you agree that Christians in North America probably are a little bit more timid than they are courageous? Would you agree with me that Christians in North America report they're just kind of pushing through, kind of going through the motions? I'm going to share with you what's being reported across the world when it comes to Christianity. This past year has been the most violent against Christians. The organization Open Door reports more than 300 million Christians around the world now face high levels of persecution and discrimination for their faith, up by 15 million from last year's figure of 365 million. A record number representing 1 in 7 Christians worldwide, up from 1 in 8 4 years ago. It's an increase of a staggering 140 million since 2018. I want to go ahead and play this video from YouTube so you can better understand. Let's go ahead and play that video.
Could praying put you in danger? Could going to church risk your life? Could following Jesus cost you your job, your home, or your family? Around the world today, our Christian brothers and sisters are counting the cost of their faith. And these are the 10 countries where the price of following Jesus is highest. Number 10, Afghanistan. The Taliban hunts for hidden networks of believers. Suspected Christians can be arrested, interrogated, and even killed. At number 9, Iran. House churches are seen as a threat to national security. Pastor Anushavan has started serving a 10-year prison sentence after 30 agents raided his home. Sudan is at number 8. In the chaos and conflict of civil war, Christians are especially vulnerable. Believers have been attacked, their property looted, and churches closed. Number 7, Pakistan. Pakistani Christians are seen as second-class citizens. False accusations of blasphemy result in innocent believers facing mob violence. Christian girls continue to be abducted and forced to convert to Islam. Nigeria is at number 6. More Christians are killed for their faith in Nigeria than in all the other countries of the world combined. Pastor Zachariah came home one day to find his village attacked, and his wife and son murdered by militants. Number 5, Yemen. The very small number of Yemeni Christians must worship in secret. House church leader Saleh is on the wanted list, but despite death threats, he courageously continues his ministry. At number 4 is Eritrea. Christian activities are severely restricted. When Abdullah told people about Jesus, he was sent to prison. The conditions were so terrible that he never came out alive. Libya is number 3 on the list. Libya considers itself to be a completely Islamic nation. Libyan believers who tell others about Jesus risk arrest and violent opposition. Number 2, Somalia. In this highly restrictive Islamic society, even the suspicion of being a Christian is extremely dangerous. Converts who are discovered may instantly pay with their lives. And at number 1, North Korea. This remains the most costly place in the world to be a Christian. Even owning a Bible is illegal. Jiho's father was taken away when security agents discovered his secret book. She never saw him again. Christians are sent to appalling labor camps or simply killed on the spot. More than 365 million Christians face high levels of persecution and discrimination. That's 1 in 7 Christians globally, and every one of them a son or daughter, a mother, a father, a child of God. For nearly 70 years, Open Doors has been supporting our persecuted church family, helping them to stand strong. They are counting the cost of following Christ, and with your help, they can keep believing, knowing that Jesus is worth everything.
I want to give you some time to let that sink in. How do you think Christians in the top 10 countries of persecution and death would be if they could move to America today? I just think, honestly, they'd be the most passionate folks that would pray among us. I think they would have this incredible courage living with us. I think they would be over the top, passionately grateful for being in the United States, right? So why can't we live like this? And here's why. Because we've been blessed by God. And because we've been blessed by God, we don't live in the reality that we need God. And because we don't see our need for God, it leaves our Christian experience to be passive. And many Christians will report, I just feel miserable, or I'm just pushing through. So what do we need? What needs to happen? What switch needs to be switched? What needs to happen? We need to make a choice, and we need to do something. We need to build our faith in our character, much like a muscle in your body. If you want it to be strong and develop, you got to build it, stretch it, and strain it. No muscle, you know this, no muscle in your body is going to be developed when you're sitting at home scrolling or binge watching, right? It's the same thing spiritually. Your spiritual muscle, your faith and character, are only built up when you make a choice and you do something. Because if you don't, if you play it safe all the time, your spiritual muscles, your faith and your character will become weaker and weaker, right? Your relationships weaker, your emotional health weaker. There will be no spiritual maturity. I mean, this is common sense, right? Like, if I don't use my spiritual muscles, I'm not going to develop my spiritual muscles, right? What becomes my Christian experience if I'm going to tap out? What becomes of me if I'm not going to develop my spiritual muscles? Well, we become church consumers. It's what we do in North America. We become church consumers. We expect others to make churches bigger, better, and more exciting for us. We do less while we expect others to do more. We're stagnant. We complain. We push through. We don't have time to go deeper in a relationship with God as far as like discipleship. And like a toddler, we expect others to care for us, inspire us, and make things fun for us. Our entire Christian experience becomes passive, and it's based on our feelings. I want to read for you what Paul wrote in 2 Timothy. He said this: in the last days, it's going to be very difficult to be a Christian. For people will love only themselves, check this out, and prefer good times to worshiping God. They will go to church, yes, but they won't really believe anything they hear. Don't be taken in by people like that. Doesn't that sound like today? Do you know how you can develop your spiritual muscles, your faith, and your character? Well, you have to make a choice. You have to make a choice. You have to do something. And if that makes you feel like I feel icky inside, yeah, it probably will. If you think to yourself, well, I'm a little afraid, well, yeah, it probably will. That's just your comfort begging you not to do anything. So with the feelings of feeling icky and with the feelings of being scared, we do it anyway. We call this courage, and you keep doing it until it's normal. That's how you spiritually develop your muscles of faith and character. It's how you grow up and become stronger. One of the most interesting things that we've seen here in all the years of doing ministry, one of the most interesting things that we've witnessed is the assumption from people that if I just go to church, God's just going to magically change me. I don't have to surrender. I don't have to make any changes in my life. I don't have to put away old things and do new things. I don't have to create habits. It is the most remarkable thing where the belief that I will just come and sit in a building and I don't have to make any changes and God's just going to make everything work. It doesn't work like that. God can, but it doesn't work like that. I'm going to share a quote with you from Oswald Chambers. He says this: "No man is born either naturally or supernaturally with character. He has to make character. Nor are we born with habits. We have to form habits on the basis of the new life God has put into us." To close, I want you to make 4 decisions with no apologies. And don't be tripped up when I say to close. It's going to be a little longer than you think. I'm going to share with you 4 things, 4 decisions with no apologies, because these 4 decisions are going to require you to build your spiritual muscles and grow. First, decide to live in reality. Decide to live in reality. I want to read for you, this is in Ephesians. It says, "This is no weekend war that we'll walk away from and forget about in a couple hours. This is for keeps. A life or death fight to the finish against the devil and all his angels." Listen, we aren't in heaven, and until we are, we're going to live in a world of sin and evil. Why do bad things happen? Why is life a struggle? Because we live on this side of heaven and we're living in a world with sin and evil. Scripture is so clear, you should expect it, right? This is reality. We have brothers and sisters in top 10 countries of persecution and death. We need to be praying for them. Why? Because they need our prayers and we need perspective. They need our prayers and we need to understand perspective, what they're facing and what we aren't facing. We must live in reality. And remember, nothing you're asked to do here in North America will ever compare to the Christians in those top 10 countries. And it's only by the grace of God that we are not facing persecution and death. This perspective will radically change every day that you live. Pray, pray, pray for your brothers and sisters across this in this world that is filled with sin and evil. Secondly, decide today to give your life to God. Decide today to give your life to God. I want to read something for you from 1 John 2. It says this: "For the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. These are not from the Father, but are from this world. And this world is fading away along with everything that people crave. But anyone who does what pleases God will live forever." Regardless of what is happening around you, like Daniel, fully surrender and give your life to God and relax in that. I didn't say it'd be easy. I didn't say that you would have health, wealth, and success. I said regardless of your circumstances, fully surrender your life and give it over to God and relax in that. Now remember, my experiences, chances are most of the stress and anxiety in our lives are just from us. It's probably from us wanting to not give God control and demanding that life look the way we want it to look. Third, decide to pray and live in courage. Third, decide to pray, live in courage, and be grateful. I want to read this for you out of Revelations 21. "I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty I will give water without cost from the spring of the water of life. Those who are victorious will inherit all this, and I will be their God, and they will be my children. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, they will be consigned to the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death. Your faith and character, like a muscle, they don't automatically grow. They only grow when you make choices to go after these things. So I'd encourage you, like Daniel, to pray and live in courage. And remember, to live in courage, it's going to come with feelings of ickiness sometimes. It's going to come with feelings of fear sometimes, right? So we pray and we live in courage, and we live in this unbelievable gratefulness for what God has done for us. So no matter what you're walking through, no matter what your circumstances, this is the way we live. This is how we thrive, not just survive. So are you married and struggling? Right, many are. So be great in that marriage. Are you working and struggling? Be great at where you work. Are you retired and struggling? Be great in retirement. Are you a friend? Be a great friend. Are you a parent? Be a great parent. This is the challenge of Christianity, to live in a way where I'm going to pray, I'm going to live in courage no matter my circumstances, and I'm going to live every day because I'm grateful. I'm going to live in my circumstances, and I'm going to live like that. Are you a Christian? Remember, if you don't use your spiritual muscles, you won't develop your spiritual muscles. Right where you are, in the circumstances you face, live this out. Number 4, decide to advance God's kingdom through the local church. Decide to advance God's kingdom through the local church. I want to read for you this in 1 Corinthians. You are Christ's body. That's who you are. You must never forget this. Only as you accept your part of that body does your part mean anything. Listen, there's no greater purpose, no greater meaning in life other than joining God in His mission to redeem people. Listen, there's a reason God built His church, His body on this earth. There's a reason you're invited to be a part of it. There's a reason we make church a priority, where we're loving and attending and giving and serving and growing. There's a reason. It's where we come spiritually alive. It's where we learn how do we grow up and exercise our faith and character. It's where we join others and share God's grace with visitors. I was having a conversation with Sam the other day. He said something I wanted to share with you today. He's like, I wonder if people realize why once we're saved, we don't automatically go to heaven. No, we're here on purpose. We're God's body. We're in a world of sin and evil. We have a mission to do. Like, if none of that was important, you'd immediately go to heaven. No, there's work to be done here. Listen, I want you to think about another way of living. What's your other option if you're not going to be a part of God's body? What's your other option? Well, you can be a North American consumer. You do less while you expect others to do more. You can complain. You can blame others for choices you're not making. Expect others to make church bigger, better, and more exciting. Don't go deeper in discipleship. Please hear me. This is an absolute miserable way of living. There's no spiritual growth, and it requires nothing from you. It requires no faith. It requires no character. Remember, if you don't use your spiritual muscles, then you're not going to develop your spiritual muscles. I want to read for you this verse in Hebrews. It says this: let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works. And let us not neglect our meeting together as some people do, but encourage one another, especially now the day of His return is drawing near. Have you met people pulling away from their spiritual family? Have you met people saying that they've reached the level of maturity and they're so high in their maturity of God they don't need a church? That's not what Scripture teaches. It says, let us not neglect our meeting together. Why? Because it motivates one another in our acts of love and good works with one another. So don't stop the habit of meeting together ever. If you're comfortable pulling away from your spiritual family, it's a red flag. To close real quickly, 4 decisions that will change your life. They will change your Christian experience. Decide to live in reality. Decide today to give your life to God. Decide today to pray, live in courage, and be grateful. Like, live this out in all the circumstances that you're in. Decide to advance God's kingdom through the local church. I'm going to close with this. It's such a big question that I want you to process all week long. What has been your Christian experience? We'll see you next week.